All right. It looks like we are back online. You wanna check on your end?
Yeah, I'm looking here.
It's not freaking out no more.
That was
Looks
weird.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. This is the continuation of the
Whatever
current
happened.
current episode, I guess.
Let
I have
me.
no idea. Everything was fine. Everything was plugged in, so I don't know why the camera started freaking out like that. So I apologize. Anyway, we will continue where we left off.
So I can't get into my chat now.
You're not watching the live.
I did hit live. Let me go back. Okay, wait a minute.
Were you still experiencing technical
Okay.
difficulties?
Yep. Hang on. And
Okay.
there
Bring
it is.
that back up. Okay. Look good?
Looks good.
All right. Sorry. Again, no idea. Everything was fine.
That's never happened before.
Nope.
Ever. We've never had a hard time.
Weird.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if everybody that oh. So if everybody
anyway.
that wants to come back,
Yeah, I was going to say
that'd be great.
This is I guess,
wow.
kind of. It's not really a part two. It's a continuation.
It's a continuation, but yeah, that was weird. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, you were saying.
Okay. So what we were talking about was the spirit, the body, soul, and spirit, and I was talking to you about how I got to remember here how the soul and all of that connects. And I can't remember where we left off. We were kind of deep there, but in other words, what I'm saying is it's kind of like what you think, and you did answer it when you said that there's the soul is kind of hidden, right?
Mhm.
And the spirit's hidden too. But you have to work at making those things come
the
out.
soul resides within the spirit. The spirit
Right.
is your spiritual body.
Right.
So, but it can't override without the body's approval because we are born in flesh.
Right.
And it would be the exact opposite if, hypothetically speaking, if we were born into spirit and we had, I don't want to say the flesh on the inside, but like the corruption of the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. Like when I personally believe that when like God created Adam and Eve were fleshly beings, but they were perfect, right? Their spirit and their soul drove their flesh to do the right thing.
Okay.
It wasn't until they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. See, it's the knowledge of it that separates you from your soul and your spirit. The flesh separates it because at that moment, they realized that they were in an imperfect world, or it became imperfect through their actions.
And you don't think we can gain back some of that, of what they lost?
Well, I guess it would depend on the context of what you mean.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Because if we could, then the avenues that history has taken to bring us to where we are, it hasn't brought us there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like nobody has found the secret of spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
It all resides in a physical matter. You can experience spiritual things, but that doesn't mean that all of a sudden we are driven purely by the aspect of the spirit. Now, I do believe that, people who are aware of the spirit can tap into it, but there's a limit. And it's like I talked about in a couple of other episodes, is like you can't bring yourself to fly.
Right.
I can't phase through walls. I can't raise the dead. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's like, well, why haven't we figured out how yet if there are avenues to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody has these secrets, then they're holding it to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's assume hypothetically there is somebody out there that can do all these things. Where are they at? you
Right.
know,
Right.
out
Okay.
out in the woods somewhere, hiding under a log, like.
Okay.
So I do, wrapping my thoughts up. I do believe you. or I do agree with what you're saying.
Okay.
I just believe that it's the opposite. Instead of the spirit and the soul driving the flesh, I believe it's the opposite.
You think it's the flesh driving the soul and the spirit?
I would
Is that-
say it's not even just that. I would say it's more of like it ignores them entirely
Oh, wow.
until you
Find a way to.
bring yourself to find truth and logic.
Okay.
That's what I believe anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I understand what you're saying. All right. We'll keep going. Now I got to figure out where I was. So we talk about that it's easy to lose touch with your soul when life becomes overwhelming. Things like work, responsibilities, societal pressures can play on our emotions, and stress can set in. That's obvious, right?
Yeah.
These are things that we talked about in that last podcast. So when this happens, you may start feeling lost or disconnected, also known as unbalanced. So in that last episode, some of the things that we talked about was common signs that indicate you may need to reconnect. Remember this?
Mhm.
So I'll just read through some of those in case some of you either didn't go see that last episode or podcast, and whether you go back and watch it or not, we'll review them anyway. So number one is you feel unfulfilled or stuck. You struggle with decision making. You experience frequent anxiety, stress, or emotional numbness.
Mhm.
You feel overwhelmed, making it difficult to process your feelings. You seek external validation to define your worth. You have a persistent sense of emptiness or lack of purpose. I was just looking to see if the computer is acting up again. You feel
No, I'm watching it.
Okay. You feel disconnected from your emotions. So those were some of the things that we talked about in that last podcast. If shut the front door. Oh, perfect. Okay. Thank you. I was hoping that you'd get on here and tell us that things were running well. Okay. So another thing we had talked about in that last podcast was, why is connecting with your soul important? And these are some of the things we talked about. You gain clarity about your purpose, values, and passions. Your soul can guide you by making decisions from a place of inner knowing rather than fear or doubt. You tend to have a sense of peace, you talked about that earlier, and confidence. You respond to difficulties with inner strength and emotional balance instead of reacting impulsively. Is there any of those, Brian, you want to kind of touch on?
A lot of that I agree with. I would say the thing that I still kind of struggle with in regards to like where the access point is like, where does that awakening come from?
I know. And that, when you asked me,
Now I know the answer,
you
but
do.
I do, but I want to know from your perspective.
Well, that's kind of what I've been doing a little bit of research on. And I'm not saying that what I'm finding is right or wrong, but tell me what you think.
I think it stems from being self-aware. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying have a conscience, because obviously all humans are self-aware. I'm talking about realizing the flaws that you have and seeking the right things to make yourself put yourself in a much better position, spiritually and physically.
Okay. So going off what you just said,
Mhm.
I'll ask you two questions.
Mhm.
How does the soul connect to what you just said?
You want me to answer one at a time?
Yep.
Okay. How does the soul connect? Because again, the way that the body and soul are intertwined but interact with each other is very dependent on where your mind is currently at. You have to be in a position where you realize that there's more to myself than what I am or what I see myself as, and doing the proper things to set your spirit in motion. It's kind of like exercising. You know, we all have muscles, right?
Okay.
But if you never work out that muscle, it will never grow. And it's the same concept with the spirit and the soul, I believe, is that once you realize that it needs work, you will take the proper steps to work out the soul.
Okay. We kind of agree, but disagree. Maybe our way of thinking is a little different in the fact of opposite.
Okay. How so?
Well, because you think more body, mind, or more body, soul, and spirit. I think more spirit, soul, body.
Okay, well, again, not to backpedal on, or not backpedal, but not to backtrack.
Hmm.
What is your example, like the one I gave, my metaphorical example of kicking the box? Where does the spirit wake up in that scenario?
I know that's what
I
I'm
don't believe it ever will, or it ever does.
really.
Yeah, because
It can't.
it's literally, because your soul is not going to be, or your body is not going to grow up in an immoral environment and then all of a sudden just wake up one day and say, what I'm doing is wrong. How do you know? Like, you could say, well, your soul knows. Okay, I will grant that. But then how do you get people from other cultures, religions, ideologies that still act on the immoral acts that go against completely against objective morality?
Hmm.
It'll never happen. There's never been a case where somebody has been, like, convicted of something and then they just said, "Oh, I just woke up one day and realized what I was doing was wrong." Well, how did you do that? "Oh, I just felt it internally." It's never happened.
So you said an access point. You mean an access point to waking up your soul and spirit? Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
Okay.
But I
So
think that, like I said, it
it's,
requires you to make that step, your flesh, your
and
mind.
what does that look like when your flesh does that?
Well, it's kind of like the concept of this episode, finding the peace, right?
Hmm.
It takes you can be around chaos your entire life, and you know what you need to do to get the peace, but you just don't do it.
Okay.
But then the day you finally do it, you realize this is what I needed all along.
I
You know,
see.
it's the whole point of exercising that side of you.
Hmm.
And sometimes that requires even exercising your mind to bring you in that direction. But it cannot happen spontaneously.
Right.
It
No.
takes circumstances, it takes situations, and it takes choice
And work.
and work. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that's my whole point, is that you can't have an immoral action all of a sudden, or you can't have a moral action be all of a sudden immoral because your body or your soul just decided to poke its head up one day. It's never happened. You have to be in the right place at the right time. I'm like, unless you have an example that says otherwise.
No, I'm listening. So when you say wake up at the right place at the right time, what do you mean when you say that?
Well, let's use the example that I gave in the episode before it crashed. Um, you have that person who kicks a box their whole life and thinks there's nothing wrong with it, and then sees us
Okay.
and is like, "Wow, that's immoral," or we think that's immoral. It's the concept of bringing themselves to the position of wanting to understand,
Awareness.
of understanding, of awareness, of being confronted with something that they never thought was wrong. And then when we tell them our side,
Hmm.
that's when their mind starts working, and it essentially gives permission for the conviction to work its way in. Because a lot of times when you tell somebody why something is wrong,
Hmm.
that's when your spirit wakes up and says, "Hey, listen, they're telling the truth." But if you don't give any food to it, it'll stay asleep.
I see what you're saying. And that wake up moment can be different for everyone.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Different circumstances, what have you.
Right. Different circumstances, different
We're
time.
not all cookie cutter.
Right. Well, we all live in different situations too, right?
Mhm.
Like you talked about living in different countries. Well, it's even like you and I have different objectives of situations that have changed us,
Mhm.
right? Okay. So I like the fact that you said that about connecting with your soul, because that another thing that we had talked about in that last podcast was 6 powerful practices to connect with your soul. So is this what you're talking about, Brian, when you say that you need to work on those things?
Yeah, you have to give yourself permission and then work on it.
Okay. So we talked about mindful meditation. That was 1. 2 was engage in creative expression. 3, spend time in nature. 4, journaling. 5, practice breath work. And 6, seek solitude. And
Now,
those,
do you notice that every single one of those examples
Mhm,
have to do with the physical?
right.
They are things you do physically
Hmm.
to allow your soul to gain access to them, to the peace that resides within that.
I see. Okay.
There's not like some the secret like backflip you have to do, and all of a sudden your soul is like, oh, hey, I'm awake now. No, you have to physically do things to open yourself up to a spiritual mindset. For like even just the first one, mental meditation,
hmm
the mind.
Right. Okay. I see what you're doing.
You pick up what I'm putting down.
Right. Okay, so that was last week's episode. So if you guys are interested, you can go watch that one. And again, it's not live.
Yeah, welcome to the episode now. We're starting.
Wow, I haven't seen any glitching yet, so that's good. Whatever that was about.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah. So tonight's podcast, we're going to talk about living in that place of peace. So our last podcast was called Rest for the Soul. And now we're going to talk about living in that rest. Mm-hmm. So what do you think of, Brian, when I say living in that place of rest?
I think it's putting it into action. You're not just trying to get there, you're in it. You're progressing through it. And that doesn't mean you've gotten to the point, but you're practicing what you preach, essentially. You're living it. You're not just looking for it.
With all the tools that you need to get yourself there. Is that basically what you're saying? Like, yeah. I don't think you just wake up and find yourself there.
Well, no, all the things that we just talked about, are things that lead to the road, but you're on the road. You're there, you're moving.
Right. Okay. So I want to focus on how to live in the place of rest and why it's important. That's what our podcast is going to focus on tonight. So we always say you are the most important person in your life. And I've heard it said, I liked this quote that I found. It said, what would our lives be like if we worked on ourselves as hard as we worked at our jobs?
Ain't that the truth?
If only life would allow for that.
I think it does to a point. It's not like everybody has to have a, 24/7 job. But I do agree with your point.
Right.
That we oftentimes neglect ourselves in a lot of other circumstances, not just work, but, everything.
Yeah. I mean, it can be physical, it can be spiritual, it can be whatever, but, time doesn't always allow for us to do those things either, right?
Well, I think that's why it's very important for people to be aware of the world they live in. A lot of times, this is something that I've even caught myself doing. I'm sure everybody watching has done it. We get caught in this idea that life will never end. Like, in the back of your mind that it will, but life is finite, and realizing that every decision you make will have a lasting impact on those around you is something we often forget.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
That's why it's important to put yourself in a position where you're like, I know I need improvement. It's being self-aware, essentially.
That's good. I like that explanation.
Yeah. Well, and it's part of the reason why I think people can get away with doing negative things is because in their minds they're thinking, this is all I'm going to do, It's like when you wake up every weekend, when you're off work, you think, ooh, I have a weekend off. You don't think how many more weekends you have.
Right.
You just think of the current long term. You just think of the current one you're in.
Right.
You go through the motions of life. But for somebody like me, I try, doesn't always work, but I try to realize that every weekend I have is one less weekend I'll get.
Oh, wow.
And I live that to the fullest. I take the opportunities that I'm given and run with them.
Wow. You think so opposite than me.
No.
We're very much opposite. Okay. So how can we learn to live in that place of rest? So I'm just going to name a few of what I think that I jotted down, and you can expound or tell me some of yours or whatever. So I picked these ones. So picking and choosing our battles. And the reason I thought about this one, picking and choosing our battles, allowing us to live in that place of rest, is because Dad always told me, he said, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, and some are not worth fighting. Yeah. Don't waste your time trying to explain yourself to people who don't understand you. That will suck the life out of you.
I know I've been doing it for the past week and a half.
We've said that our journeys can be long and often difficult process of personal change and development, both a physical and a spiritual journey. And that goes along with, not wasting our time trying to explain yourself to people that don't understand you. And when I say understand, it's even from, I think, Brian, not only a mental, but emotional place.
Mhm.
People can drain you.
Yep.
And if you keep trying to explain yourself, it's like, okay, I've had enough.
Well, it's kind of like what I talked about in the in the TikTok that we had tonight.
Yes.
Is it's okay to be cold. It's okay to be angry, but you got to channel it right.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, you can allow life circumstances, situations, and people to drain you.
Mm-hmm. And it's easy.
And I don't mean like cold, like completely ignore. I'm talking about like knowing when enough is enough and just washing your hands of the situation. To others, it might appear cold, but to you, it's protecting you.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes you just have to walk away from those types of people and call it quits. Another one I thought of was aligning yourself with the right people. Your journey can often be long and lonely, so it's important to find people you can trust and confide in. And we've talked about being on our journeys, right? So when you want to find that place of living in peace, it's important to align yourself with people that will help you, can talk with you. And I know there are people that I have in my life that I haven't, like an example would be, you don't see this person for a very long time. And then all of a sudden you see them and you feel like you never
stop talking. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you literally can pick up right where you left off.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of people that I'm talking about. And you have talks with these people, and the nice thing about it is that you can be so truthful with each other, so honest with each other that nobody gets offended.
Yeah.
Nobody takes anything personal.
Yeah.
It's hard to find people like that, because people who get offended, people who take everything personal, they're the ones that drain you, because they make everything more than what it is and something that it's not.
Exactly.
Does that make sense? Ooh. So shut the front door says iron sharpens iron. Most times you can become the ones you're with. Yes.
Yeah.
Birds of a feather, my friend. Right? Another one I wrote down was take time for yourself. I believe this is an important one. And this is where connecting your soul is so important. And you said, Brian, about finding that connection point, right? And we talked about the 6 practices to connect your soul, right? Do you have anything you want to elaborate on there before we go into the why? I mean, those are some of the hows
I guess the better question would be, do you have anything for me?
I mean, how do you do it? Like, what are some things that you do?
In regards to?
Finding rest for your soul.
Well, we've talked about it on other episodes, but I guess the question I'm trying to get out of you is, what would be some examples you can give me of needing to find rest?
Oh. Go.
I'm asking you.
Oh, I thought you already knew the question in your head.
Imagine asking a question just to be like, okay, tell me. So like in your situations, where would you say, give me an example of a time where you felt you needed to find rest?
Oh my God. Well, after losing mom and dad, definitely.
Okay. And what brought you to the point where you finally did? Like, what did you do?
What did I do? Or
that's what I said.
Okay, what did I do? That's a good question. Well, first of all, I just had to stop being so angry because of the grief that I was feeling, because now it was affecting my body physically. I guess what I did is I just looked for the good times and stopped trying to feel the guilt and the shame Like I felt so much guilt, so much shame. And I think that's what brought on a lot of the anger. And I had to stop blaming myself and come to the realization that, those things happen and it's not my fault.
And that's exactly what I'm getting at, is that it took something to happen for you to seek a different avenue.
Yes.
And it took the negatives piling up for you to finally take action.
Right.
That's what I'm entailing here, is that peace and rest only come to those who realize they need it, instead of just letting things constantly pile on. Because you had two options. You could have stayed in that rut, but you chose to say enough is enough and realize that what you're doing, did, and will do are not impacted by who you are as an individual. You sought out change. You moved on from it.
Right.
That's what it would take in most situations. I would say probably all.
Right.
Because people can stay in that same rut
For a very long time.
Sometimes their whole lives.
It's true.
And I would know because I've dealt with it recently. It's not myself, but through somebody else. Seeing how staying in the rut they're in has caused them endless grief. It's like the definition of insanity. You do the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result.
And they don't see it.
Personally, I think it's they refuse to.
Why?
I think a lot of people like to stay in the misery because they think it's the easiest.
Is it kind of like what we talked about in the TikTok? It's that if you decide that you need to change, but you don't want to because of what you're going to have to face. Is it that?
It could be part of it. I just think in the case of the example I'm thinking of, I'm not going to talk about it in detail, but it's almost like it's easier to play the victim than actually stand up for yourself.
Wow. Why would you want to stay in a victim mentality, though?
I'll answer that when I figure it out myself.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Because I genuinely don't know either. Like for me, like I've said in multiple episodes, I refuse to be the victim in anything. I deal with the situation. And that could be a part of it too, to get attention. But you finally have to realize that life doesn't revolve around you and that you need to do what's best for yourself because nobody else will.
Well, I think you find that a lot in this time in life. I don't know if it's a generational thing or whatever, but a lot of people that I meet now, they think it's all about them.
They'll realize it one day.
And that's why I was saying earlier, you have to find people to talk to that don't think that way, because you automatically know when someone feels that way, they want the attention. They like feeling like the victim. And you know how you know that? Because when you talk to them, they take everything personal.
And sometimes in that, they can take everything from you. Mentally, spiritually, and physically.
Wow. It all works together, doesn't it?
Mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Emotionally is what I meant to say. Sorry. But yeah.
So what did it do when did that happen for you? Like you asked me the question, Brian, what was the moment for you?
Yeah, I agree with narcissism. What changed for me? It just got to the point where I just said enough was enough. Like it was kind of like you, but to a different degree. I would say mine was probably a lot more, believe it or not, mine was probably a lot more emotional, but I didn't show it. It was all internal. I kept it to myself.
Wow.
Because I had no one to open myself up to like that. It's not like I went into the backyard and screamed up into the sky, my struggle was internal. And I dealt with it for a long time. And eventually I just said enough was enough.
Do you think you're really at peace now?
Situations happen every day, but I think generally, yes.
Much better than you were?
I don't even think I'd be sitting here if things continued the way they went. I genuinely don't believe I'd be here.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people could probably say that, like, if life continued the way that it was going, I probably wouldn't be here. Obviously, I can't say whether or not that's true. But for me, I can tell you that I probably would not. There's probably a very high chance that I would not be here.
And what
And
made,
that was the turning point for me. It's like either let it defeat me or I can use it and utilize it.
okay, and what made you change your mind or flip that for you? Was it just a mindset?
Mm-hmm.
It was just a mindset.
Mhm.
So nobody said anything to you, nothing happened. You just woke up one morning and said, enough.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to go into, unless you have any more, okay, on the why it's important that we learn to live in that place of rest. And again, I wrote down a few. And one of them was the reason is it enhances mental clarity and reduces stress level. This helps with making better decisions and basically helps us to choose the battles that are worth fighting.
Mhm.
Because you definitely find when you're at peace that things are a lot easier to handle.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to mentally put yourself there.
Yeah. Mhm.
So another one I put is helps with our emotional well-being and encourages better physical health. When we are more emotionally stable with our soul, we tend to want to work on ourselves physically.
Mhm.
And I know, Brian, you're not a big advocate with the workout thing, but like Dad and I are. So I can honestly say that for him and I, when you find yourself at a place of rest, yes, emotionally, of course, but it does help with your physical health. You know, I was telling him the other day I changed up my workout regimen, and I'm finding that I'm sleeping better.
Mhm.
You know, so it does even affect that.
Mhm.
Another one was we learn to trust, and this one's hard because it's hard to trust, right? So what I put was strengthens our relationships by aligning ourselves with the right people. We connect through communication and soul connection. And again, I think it's kind of like the person that you've known forever but haven't seen for a long time, and then all of a sudden you see them. But I want people to know, because this took a while for me, is that even in your new relationships with trust, be patient with yourself, because especially if you've been in a relationship where you've been hurt, trust takes a long time.
Well, it's not even just that. I think trust is something that we often take for granted as the word itself. You know, they think, oh, you can trust me, blah, blah, blah. Trust is earned, not given. Because I still have friends that I do not trust. They're still my friends, but I do not trust them.
Mm-hmm.
Trust is earned. I need to see what happens in the term of our friendship where I can definitively say, I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is something that's deserving.
Right.
You know, it's not like, you know, somebody that walks into a room and is like, you know, I'm the boss, you can trust me. I have no reason to. I don't care what position you're in. You could be the Queen of England for all I care. It's like, I don't trust you.
Right.
You know, position and authority don't mean anything when it comes to trust. That's why I always say there's a difference between a boss and a leader.
Oh,
A
definitely.
leader takes accountability, and that's what friendship to me is. It's accountability for the wrong things you do.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it means hurting your other friends, taking accountability of like, what I did was wrong.
Right. Awareness.
Yep.
Like shut the front door just said.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. But I think on the flip coin of that too, Brian, like you said, trust is earned. Okay. You're talking from the perspective of an outside person to you. So when I think of trust, I also think of your personal situation. So you on the outside now, I need to learn to trust. Do you know what I mean? Like okay, let's do it this way. I learned to trust you because you've hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have to be in that place to say, okay, you've hurt me, and I have to understand that that's going to take time, because a lot of people think that hurt through those issues are just going to heal overnight.
Well, and I think that's part of the
It's
reason too
not.
why I said it needs to be earned. Like in your example, I wouldn't just apologize for my actions and then you say it's going to take time for me to trust you again. At that point, if I want to rebuild the trust, I'm going to put I'm going to do my due diligence and give you reasons to trust me.
See, there you go. And that's
I'm not just going to stay,
Mhm.
oh, I understand. You need to learn to trust me again. I'll leave you alone. No, if anything, I'm going to double down and be like, I'm going to give you reasons why you can trust me,
I like that.
even if I made a mistake.
Right. Because words are cheap.
Words are very cheap.
Right.
I really do hold that to a very high standard, because for me, when somebody tries to tell me things, I don't want to just hear it. I want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
I don't see it, then your words literally mean nothing.
Nothing.
I don't
Exactly.
even want, like, I don't even say words are cheap. I mean words are worthless. They are nothing.
Mm-hmm. It's true. But from my perspective too, and like you were saying, you're right, Brian, is that like I've been hurt, okay, whatever, and you try to move on, but there were times that I thought I was healed and I wasn't. So you need to have patience with yourself, not only to trust that other person, but trust that yourself can deal with that situation and know that it takes time for that to heal. Does that make sense? Yeah. So trust can flip both ways, right?
Mhm.
The other one I put was provides a place for personal reflection and growth. This helps to connect us with a sense of who we really are and can bring us to a deeper fulfillment and peace, both physically and emotionally.
Mhm.
So, are there any other ones that you want to add for yourself tonight, Brian? Like,
Mm-mm.
no?
No,
Okay.
believe it or not, it's pretty also it's all straightforward, and I don't disagree with any of it. I just it's the avenues taken to those points that vary.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's it.
Yep.
Right. So if you're good, I'm good.
Okay.
All right. But I do have a quote that I that I found that I want to read before we go. And it says, "The deeper you go, the simpler it becomes. You are here to learn, to love, to create, to heal, and to remember who you are beneath everything that tried to convince you otherwise."
Mm.
When you live from that place, life stops feeling random and starts feeling meaningful. The purpose of life is to become fully alive while you are here by becoming awake, aware, and real. And that quote was from Zachary Fisher.
Oh, wow.
Anything you want to elaborate on that one?
No.
Because we talked a little bit about that
Yeah.
earlier with the awakening. You're like, well, when does that access point happen, right?
Mhm. Yeah. No, it's a good quote.
So I'm going to leave you with our quote: to believe in yourself, be patient with yourself, and know that your best is always good enough. Know that you can be you know that we can be found on many different platforms like YouTube, Spotify, X, and Apple. Please share, like, subscribe, turn on any notifications. We have an email at giveemheck@gmail.com. We have a Facebook page called Give 'em Heck Podcast. And we also have a TikTok at Give 'em Heck Official.
Yes. I also want to say, um, I think with the next live, we're going to do something a little different. So if you watch this episode, there will be an announcement made on our Facebook to kind of solidify it, but I need to do a little bit of research first.
Okay.
But I think it'll be a little bit better to mix things up a little bit, especially with our lives. But definitely be on the lookout for an announcement. And the little project that I mentioned in not last week, but the week before's episode,
Oh, yeah.
I'm still working on it.
Mhm.
It's nothing important to the degree of like you guys need to know what it is right now, but just know that probably the next time I mention it is when it is actually getting set up.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
but we thank you for watching. We hope you
Mhm.
enjoyed it. Sorry for the hiccup that separated these two lives out.
I have no idea.
I kind of need to figure out if there is a way I can just pause the live instead of just completely ending it. But yeah, we'll definitely see you on the next episode. Goodbye, everyone.
Good night.